Welcome back to another episode of Hot Mess Espresso, which is sponsored by 502 Media. I personally love when I have other podcast hosts on because somehow they just get it a little bit more. And the first thing that got me with this guest is the title of her podcast, which is Emotionally Unavailable, which is my entire life currently. Welcome, Malisa Hepner. How are you?
I'm good. Your entire life. That's so funny. Well, it used to be my entire life.
I joke around that I have the emotional availability of a toaster, but honestly, I do.
Bro, I mean, no, for real, we all do. And until you get
Mm-hmm.
very intentionally working on
Mm-hmm.
that, we are all emotionally unavailable. That is literally why I started my show, because I I'm a person who takes a quiz. Like, I'm addicted to the internet. So, what else am I going to do? My dopamine's run out, right? So, I saw this quiz, are you emotionally unavailable? And I was like, I'm sure I'm not, because, I trauma dump really well. So, I'm going through the quiz, and it says I'm emotionally unavailable. And I was like, well, that's rude. So, I text a friend, and I'm like, do you think I'm emotionally unavailable? She was like, I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, can you explain that? Because this is a new concept for me, because literally I tell everybody everything. She's like, yeah, but it's the way you retell your trauma as some stand-up comedian. You're not connected to those stories. And I was like,
You're not supposed to do that?
oh, apparently not.
Well,
Apparently
that's
not.
rude.
I was like, and then I had this stand-up comic on my show, Aaron Foster, great guy. And I was bonding with him because his stand-up is very serious content. And I was like, listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with processing like that. Now, the problem is he has done further exploration and is just using this medium to tell his story, but he
Mm-hmm.
likes comedy. I was just pretending to be a comedian. So there was the difference. And
I
I
mean,
was
I
just
find you
over
funny.
here, I was like, well, I'm funny. So
Yeah, I find you funny. It's fine. It's so funny that you're no pun intended. It's so funny that you're on today because this morning I was literally just listening to Emma's Too Much, and she was talking about like emotional availability with shit, I forgot her name. I follow her podcast, but Sabrina. And they were like, if you're only like dating emotionally unavailable people and you're the common denominator, guess what? You're also
you're
emotionally
emotionally
unavailable. And I was like,
unavailable. Yeah.
it is 8 a.m. I did not
I
ask
didn't
to be
need
called.
that
It
attack.
is 8 in the morning, but they're absolutely correct because if you're actually like emotionally available, like you won't put up with like the shit with my ex. Like I'm finally over that. I crashed out for 5 months and dear God, it's embarrassing. But like, when you look when you when you look back, I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. He was just because he knew how to communicate and validate and like made me feel special does not mean he was emotionally available. He couldn't fucking commit.
Honestly, this drives me insane. This very thing. I have
Yes.
clients who have men who are trying to be their, we'll say, spiritual mentor, okay? And they'll be telling me some of the stuff, and I'm like, what? And so I'm like, okay, they two things can be true at once. He is
Mm-hmm.
right in what he's saying, and then when you try to tell him shit, he mansplains the hell out of everything that you just
Oh,
said. So,
ew.
tell me how that's spiritually evolved or emotionally available. I have a client
No.
whose man is nonstop with the projecting his own fears, because he will say things like, I just don't see you opening up. It just really bothers me when you this, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, you know what? Those are fair points. Those are fair points. And
Mm-hmm.
when's the last fucking time he said one authentic thing to you about his feelings?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, doing that work on myself really showed me we really are all mirrors for each other. Whatever stage of development you're in, that's who's going to be surrounded by you. And then, I mean, the truth is, it is sad, lonely, and painful to release the people who aren't reflecting back to you that version of you anymore. But
Yeah.
it literally can't work because you see things they don't see, and then they still want to mansplain. You can stop
Yeah.
right there. I will never for the rest of my life listen to a man fucking mansplain to me ever.
No, I can't stand it. And like that's the thing. Two things can be true. My ex was like a great human and I would always feel bad being like he's a great guy, but he wasn't emotionally available. He threw up all the flags that he wasn't going to commit. He literally was like I have weird anxieties about being in a relationship. I need to get back into therapy, blah, 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 blah. And then did exactly to me what his ex did to him, but in a nicer way. And I was like, you like when you get out of the fog after a few months, when you stop being like, oh, they're just such a good person, like I'm so
And when you
understanding, I'm
stop
so
blaming
forgiving.
yourself,
All that does is just like re-stab yourself over and over and over again. It did nothing for me except for prolong. It was like the slowest pull off of the band-aid. And now that I'm
yes.
over it, I'm like, you know what? Ew. Like you
Yeah,
were
eventually
I
it
was
does.
just
It
there to
gives you
fill.
the ick, the whole
Yeah.
thing.
I literally I was just there to fill a void. I was just there to see if he was ready to get out there again. Spoiler alert, he was not. And
Yeah.
I wound up picking up the pieces while he's just sitting there like good guy breadcrumbing, which is actually worse than the douchebag. It's
Worse.
worse than the douchebag
Because they
breadcrumbing. Oh my god.
I'm gonna be sweet here. Maybe they
This
do
is the first time
genuinely
I've
care.
ever like publicly like really talked about the breakup. So like
Yeah.
I really hope
Well,
he doesn't listen. I really hope he unfollowed and like just has not like besides living in my snap stories like has just gone off into the sunset.
baby, if he's living in your snap stories, you know
Let me live in my Delulu land that he doesn't give a
exactly.
shit,
He is
okay?
not listening to your show at all.
No, he doesn't give a shit. We all know this. If he
The
gave a
thing
shit, I
is
would
that
know.
like I can even give you like a little bit of leeway and go, you genuinely care, you're
He
feeling
does.
guilty. I can even say this is such an avoidant trait to get close and freak out and run
I
and
called him
then
on
need
it
to
too.
come back, like we all do this. This is the
Uh,
thing. I'm being serious. We all commit this pattern.
yeah,
Even
absolutely.
I am still doing this in my daily life. But to me, the narrative in present time is like, oh, they're toxic, or oh, um, they're not showing up for me the way I want them to. In particular, if I talk to you about something and you don't respond the way, like perfectly,
The
like
way I envisioned it in my head.
yes, then you fuck you, and you're done.
Mhm.
But it's all just the vulnerability makes it feel very raw and tender, and so they have to retreat for a while. You can understand that. You can not take an
Yeah.
ounce of it personally and still go, but I don't want to fucking get on this ride again. Like, I'm so
I
tired of the
literally
ride.
everyone's like, "Oh, that's so nice that you're single by choice." I'm like, "I don't think you understand. The thought of having to like someone and hope they like me back again makes me want to go walk into oncoming traffic."
Bro, Phil, I feel that so hard. I feel that so hard. Honestly, if I'm being 100% honest right now, I kind of feel that in terms of making friends too, because since
Okay,
I've like
thank you.
started this whole
Thank you.
journey, I'm isolated and I want
Yeah.
community so bad, but I'm terrified of people still. I love this that we can go deep, we can connect, we can whatever, but I don't have
Mhm.
a fear of rejection here. I'm not
Mhm.
like I'm going to be a fine guest for you. I know that. I feel comfortable in
You're already
talking. I feel
wonderful.
all that. But like if I were to be like, Heather, will you be my friend? Oh my god, I'd be terrified. I'd be terrified
Right.
because maybe you don't like me, or maybe you're gonna ask me to be somebody I don't want to be, or just
Mhm.
expectations. That is my avoidant quality. When people have expectations for me, ugh, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. If you need
So
me,
like,
rely on me, or expect something from me, we're out. We out. We out.
it's like it's crazy that you say that because I was literally just thinking like I am a fearful avoidant. That is my attachment style. It's disorganized fearful. Like and it
Yep.
comes from the borderline. I have worked that out in relationships, but I'm noticing that it's showing up with friendships. Like if I have a friend, like if I'm making a new friend and they are just like texting me, but they're texting me like really non-surface level shit and it's on a deeper level, I'm literally like, I can't even respond to this because I can't I just want to bail in the other direction. And I'm like, oh, that's a
Here's my
thing.
avoidant. My
Yeah. I'm
fearful
like,
comes out in
oh
intimate
yeah.
relationships. No, it literally took me so long for me to see. I could see very clearly where my anxious lied. Like when, I'm
Mm-hmm.
also fearful. And I could see really I mean, every male ever triggered the fear, you know, like, "Oh,
Okay,
choose
yes.
me, pick me, love me." But the avoidant would come out in every other relationship. All my friends, acquaintances, coworkers, I had to be in charge. I had to keep you at arm's length. The second you were like, my heart is accelerating thinking about old friendship where I could tell like they needed me. Bitch, you can't need me. You can't need me because I'm gonna run. I'm gonna run so fast.
See, I'm like with my female friendships, like it's different because like I have a couple male friends that I have literally known since I was 18 and 21. Those two, I will go to war for and turn around later and be like, "So what are we doing?" Like no questions asked. It's like the newer male friends, and I think it comes from like a space of like I feel like I can't ever be friends with a guy because I have like friendly and nice my way into like a weird one-sided situationship where I'm like, okay. And even when they're like, no, I just want to be friends. I just want to be friends. Like, I just want to make that clear. I'm
God,
sitting
are
there
we
like,
related?
I'm like, I don't believe that.
You
I
know
I
what?
don't
You're
believe that at
scared.
all.
You're scared. I need to earn your love. Okay. Thank you for telling me that. I will make sure that I earn your love. I gotta beg, borrow, plead. Got it. Got it. Come on in. I'm gonna drag you in, kicking and screaming.
Literally. I literally just had somebody and I mean, I'm a female content creator. I get weird ass DMs all the time.
Oh
I
baby.
literally had this one person literally be like, "Yo, what did you think of the Sleep Token, like, new Sleep Token album?" And I was, like, excited because I get those DMs all the time. I love talking music with people, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So I'm, like, just talking, and then he said something about his friends are gonna say something about being friend zoned, and I was like, "Well, if it makes you feel better, I friend zone everyone." He's like, "Well, this was a nice chat." And I was like, "Did you think I was gonna fucking fall in love with you after asking you about the Sleep Token album? For
You're
one, like,
like,
that is."
isn't it fun when you can identify anxious in other people? And actually, like, that was an avoidant. Like, he was scared because I'm gonna reject you before you reject me. Been there. I do that with friends. I do that like I will reject you before you can
Yeah.
reject me every single time. And I like
It's
knowing
the
that
times
because
I
I can
don't.
see it in others. Oh my god. But you do just in other ways cuz
Yeah.
you're not meeting them emotionally either. You're
Mhm.
masking. If you are in a situation like that, you're not showing them you. You're showing them
Mhm.
your inner child. You know what I mean? Like you're
Mhm.
not really connecting on this like super aligned, authentic level. You're just giving them all your wounding, but not in a way that really makes sense to either party. And I just love knowing we're all doing this. And
Mhm.
the faster you can see it and see it in yourself, the better you see it in everyone else. Cause like when people talk, I'm like, oh, there's your shame. Oh, there's your fear. Oh, there's
It's the
this.
worst though. It is literally the
It
worst because,
is.
like,
It
there were times
is.
that I would, like, text him and I was like, "Hey, just so, like, you know, like" especially when we were, like, doing novels back and forth after the breakup. I was literally
Yes.
with, like, my ex. I was literally like, "I'm gonna be honest, I see some avoidant tendencies," and I wanted to, like, sugarcoat it where I didn't wanna be, "You're being avoidant as fuck right now.
Yeah.
Like, you are
Yeah.
1000% an avoidant." I was literally like, "I just see some avoidant tendencies." And, like, again, fantastic human. But at the same time, like, not having this string of wanting to get back together at this point is giving me a little bit more freedom to be like, "You know what? What you did was fucked.
Yeah.
Blindsiding me at 7 in the morning was
Do
fucked."
you wish that you had just said like avoidant as fuck instead of the sweet way? Because sometimes I'm like, well, if I didn't get what I wanted either way, I kind of wish I had just said it bluntly.
Yeah, I wish I
They
would've
don't
just caused the
listen.
goddamn
They're
scene.
not ready to receive it. So they're like, psycho, party of one.
Literally. Like, "She's
Every
just
time.
bitter." He wouldn't have said that, like, but
No, no. But
it would have
that's,
come off as, like, she's just bitter and, like, trying to get back at me and blah, 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 and I
yeah.
refused. I was taking the highest road, and now I'm like, maybe I should have taken, like, the middle road. Middle road would.
At least I should have said what I wanted to say instead of what
Right,
I
at least
thought I should
like, that's the
say.
thing. I was saving it because I thought he kind of, like, was giving me this impression that, like, we were gonna have a conversation, like, in a few months when he had, like, gotten his shit
Mm,
together and we could, like, sit down and figure out what was going on.
sweet
And then I
avoidance.
realized that
Yep.
conversation wasn't coming, and I saved what I wanted to say for the fucking wall. So my advice is
Yeah.
cause the scene, say what you wanna say, and if
Yes.
you forget things
Yes.
later, don't send the text. Just put it in your fucking notes app and delete it the
Please.
next morning.
Yeah.
They don't
Once
care,
you
you're
do
not
the
gonna get the
one
response.
big final whatever, you got
You're
to
done.
move on and you got to talk to yourself then because
Mhm.
you're really gonna embarrass yourself, sis. You really are. And nobody needs
Mhm.
that to look back. Well, there's gonna be plenty of things. I mean, truly, I'm saying that and I kind of mean it, but also I do want to take a second and say, like, if you're doing any of that, it's just part of your charm and your
It's
magic.
normal.
Just move on. Like, it's fine that you've
Yeah.
done it. Oh my god, if I could even tell you. Like, I wrote a book. My first book was called Owning My Crazy, and I wrote in there that the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days was probably written about me because I did it all. I did every last thing. Stupid, embarrassing nickname. The only thing I didn't do is get the man a plant. Otherwise, all of it, every last bit. I carried so much shame over that for so many years because I was such a psycho. And now I'm like, oh, well, that was, that's okay. That was my unhealed version. I
Yeah.
would, Heather, the thing is that I absolutely know I would be a version of that even now. I
Mhm.
would because it's always going to come up. The anxious, please choose me, please make me feel special. It's always
Please
going to
make me feel
rise.
worth it to you.
Mhm. Mhm. If you like me and you choose me, that was kind of the only validation that mattered to me. Like,
Mhm.
I couldn't find value or worth within myself at all. And it all
Yeah.
came from, and not just men, friends too. Like,
Right.
if oh my God, the standard I held my friends to was so unreal. Like, my birthday, you got to show up and show out. Blah, blah, blah. That's the only time I really wanted them to, like, make a very, very, very big deal about me, but like it was never enough. They could have taken me, like, well, that's not true. There's probably it'd have to be super over the top for me to be like,
Right.
hell yeah, I'm loved on my birthday. Every year it was like, I mean, yeah, they did, but so
See,
I mean, it's always gonna come up, but
I feel like the level I hold myself to with my friends. I will literally be like, I am so sorry that I haven't checked in 14 times because I know your grandma died and it's been 3 days. And they're like,
yeah,
you actually texted unlike 80 other people. And like, I kind of dealt with that too. And we had a huge loss in our family last summer. There were people that showed up that I didn't expect them to. And there were people that I expected them to, and crickets. And that changed my perspective a lot.
yes,
Not in a good way at all.
yeah, yep,
But like, I think the thing that I have learned the most, especially when it comes like emotionally unavailable or available or any of that, like, you have to find your worth within yourself. And it's the hardest fucking thing ever. I'm still learning
ever.
it. But
Mm-hmm.
I think you find your worth the most when you find it's okay to like be alone. And I say that as somebody that has been in a situationship or some sort of talking stage or relationship or a marriage literally since I was 16. I think there's
Yeah,
maybe like a gap of like a month. It was just one after the other because I couldn't be alone. And then when my ex and I broke up in November, that like broke and reset my brain. And I was like, I don't want to do this again.
yeah,
And I sat with myself and it was the worst. It was the fucking worst. I cried
yeah,
every day for a month. Every day it was pathetic. It was absolutely pathetic. Like, if any of my other friends cry for 1 to 2 months, I'm like, honey, it's okay. You're processing. For me, I'm like, you should have been over it in an hour.
loser.
But
No, for real. But no, I
right.
mean, that's what we do to ourselves. But that's because if you think about it, how many times as children we were told, like, walk it off, uh,
Mm-hmm.
keep
Rub some
crying, I'll
dirt in
give you
it.
something to cry about,
Oh, my
And
personal favorite.
right. So, like, to us, again, that's your inner child speaking. When you're shaming
Mm-hmm.
yourself over normal human shit, that's not you. That's some old program telling you that what you are is not good enough and too much all at the same time. And there's never a balance. You're just always one or the other. And I think, too, what really helped to increase my worth and value intrinsically was accepting all of it. Like, just being so okay with being messy. And I mean, that's an evolution for me. I didn't realize what a perfectionist I really was because, I mean, on the outside, it doesn't look like that a lot of times. I'm the fucking type
Mm-hmm.
B friend. I'm not going to lie about it. I always have been. Even in the years where it was like, I'm going to get it together and I was very structured and very routined and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
My kids were smaller then and I was like, oh my God, we're drowning. But like, it didn't look the way my type A friend's life did, but it was pretty structured and routine. Now it's none of those things. It's just like, you want to talk about hot mess? Like, I'm a hot mess. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
embracing that so much. Like, I'm finding the love in the hot mess. I'm finding the value in the hot mess. I'm finding strength and magic in embracing all of those things,
Yeah.
because you can continue to like strive for this bright shiny version of yourself, but you were already that bright shiny version of yourself. You just couldn't
Mhm.
accept the shadows, and the shadows are what makes your light shine brighter, you know. And I'm really just coming into this place where it's like, mistakes are fine, being a human is fine, and I don't do very many things according to other people's standards, and sometimes there's some kickback, and that's okay too. Like, they're on their
Yeah.
journey. It's different than mine. We're just not aligned, and I can send them away in love and peace, and be like, "Hey, go be love and light somewhere else, not near me, please." But I mean, like, it, as women especially, we have been told you can do it all. You should do it all. Blah, 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 blah. Hustle culture, the
Really.
things that we're doing to shame women. I mean, don't even get me into the beauty industry. But if we as
I'm
women
in
can
it, I
go,
know.
right? And you're like, if we as women can get to a place where, like, sure, I could do all the things, but I don't
Mhm.
have to. I get
And I
to
don't
choose
want
what
to.
my superpower is. Exactly. And I no longer want my superpower to be show up and do all the things. I was not happy doing all the things. Now
Mhm.
I'm kind of I'm kind of, into that free spirit stuff now. So it's like I just kind of feel into what my next step should be, even in terms of how I structure my day. I mean, I just really kind of go with the flow most of the time now, because that's what
Yeah.
feels good. But like, I used to would have shamed myself for that and been like, you didn't get enough done today. What's enough? I'm enough. Period.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about my 19 pending tasks on, my Google Calendar at the moment, 'cause, I
Yeah.
just my brain was just not with it. I literally spent a lot of time this weekend doing a lot of, like, healing and moving the
Yeah.
fuck on, and
Yeah.
that's where all my brain power was, and now I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'll, like, lean back into, like, HME and all of that," but, like, it took a minute to
Yeah,
just
sometimes you just don't feel it, like,
you know?
and that's why I tell people too, is just because, we've gotten all this programming about eat the big frog first, go for the big rock, whatever saying your guru said, and we're like, oh my God, that's so smart. Listen, do the big rock. That's the reason it was the big
Mm-mm.
rock. I
Yep.
don't want to eat the biggest frog. That's the reason it's the biggest. And so I'm just leaning into, like, I do the shit I want to do to get the energy to do the shit I don't want to do. Sometimes
Right.
that means going to do something fun for myself to come back in that renewed energy to do the stuff I don't want to do. And then that stuff is also giving me energy, because I'm like, look at me. I'm accomplishing things I didn't even feel like doing this morning, and look, I'm doing it now. And I mean,
Yep.
plus I play tricks on my brain. Like, honestly, a digital like to-do list doesn't do it for me. Writing it down and physically crossing it off. This is like not brain, like, it's not rocket science, but like, for me,
Right.
I've had to play around with what feels the best in terms of how to get tasks done, because
Exactly.
God knows I can lay here all day and be like, I need to do it, and never do it. So I
Yeah.
kind of I was like, well, let me try again the brain dumping, because I noticed I was walking around just feeling the weight of the world on me.
Mhm.
And so many times throughout the day, I'd be like, oh yeah, I need to remember to do that. Different stuff though, and it's all popping up all the time. And I was like, Melissa, you know the answer to this. Go write it down. So I did, and so I've been sticking to my to-do list, and crazy shit's getting done. But it's not in any particular order. Where I used to order my to-do list, and if I didn't do it in the order, I was shaming myself. This is just what we do as humans. Is put arbitrary standards on ourselves so that we can compare, contrast, feel like we're making progress, take 6 steps backwards. Like, I guess this is just all a part of the process, because everyone I talk to has the same shit. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also, like, a pen and paper person, but unfortunately, because my life is, like, so on the go and everything's on my phone at this
yes,
point,
I
it's
know.
gotta
That
be but it's kinda
sucks.
nice to go mark completed and then watch it go, "Whoop."
That's
That's
true.
kinda
And I
nice.
like keep for that too. It just wasn't, it was not doing it for me. I don't know why.
Right.
I like it for groceries too, but there's not a lot more satisfying than adding a checkbox to your list and then getting to do it, and it goes away, and you're like, "Oh my God, I think I just like created gravity."
I know. It's like I have accomplished so much. I literally, and to kind of add on to what you were saying with like just doing things for yourself because you wanted to, I could have been productive yesterday. And instead, I went and picked up my ring from the jewelers. And then I decided to spend an additional, like, what, 3.5 hours out there and went and got smoothies with a friend because I just needed to, like, not for a
But that
minute.
is
It,
productive. It's just not attacking your
it
to-do list.
literally somehow like fueled me and now I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yes.
Okay, I got this. Like the other night I was at my sister's and I literally I had to text her because my nephew is definitely old enough to like understand things now on like a really high level. So I'm literally texting her and her husband also has like the worst FOMO on the planet. If you're listening to this, Michael, you do. We all know you do. You even know you do. But I was like, yo, you want to go get Froyo after he puts the kid to bed? And she was like, yeah. So then we're just like, we're just gonna go on a little sister date because, between my adult life and her being a wife and a mom, we never get time together. And like
Yeah.
again, that also fuels me. So our 45-minute um thing to where 2 minutes before the Froyo place closed down, like we didn't get there 2 minutes before, but like we were there for 45 minutes and then left as they were closing. It was like great. I was like, okay, I feel like
Yeah.
I can function for the rest of the week. This is wonderful. And it's like,
Yes.
but we always are like, especially with like hustle culture and everything else, and even especially as women, we're like, we're not allowed to do that until all the other like
Yes.
societal and whatever chores are done. Fuck that.
Work then play. And it's like, no, I play to work. Like I
Yeah,
got to
I
get this
play
play
so that I
done to
can work.
go. Yes, yeah. And I mean, I think too, maybe that's just
Our
part
guilt.
of this journey, like the evolution of like the human experience. We learn that we're supposed to work so that we can play, but I am just flipping the switch and being like, man, I love my life so much more when I'm very intentional about joy and play. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be real. You weren't doing the shit you were supposed to do before you went to play, right? So
Right.
like you can sit and shame yourself for it and wait 3 more days to finally get the motivation to do this to-do list, or god,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes just the one task. I don't know why I do that to myself.
Making the phone call.
Oh
I don't know
baby.
why. If I gotta
Whew.
make 4 phone calls, do not expect to hear from me for the next 24 hours because it's not
No,
happening.
no,
I
because I'm
don't know why.
sitting there stressing so hardcore about each of those.
I can't. Like, my doctor's office is like, okay, well, that appointment isn't available. You're gonna need to call the office. I'm like, you know what? Do I really need my happy pills that bad? I do. But, like, I'm just like, I
And
can't.
scheduler. I love an
Ugh, it's
online
great.
scheduler so much. When you make me call, especially like the doctor I used to go to, I went to him for years. His nurse was such a bitch. And maybe I could handle it now, but like at the time, I really couldn't. And she'd be like
Mm-hmm.
very condescending, very sharp, and I was soft. I needed some softness from her, and I'd be like, "Yeah, can I see Dr. Baker?"
Mm-hmm.
And she'd be like, "Well, what do you need to see him for?" And I'd be like, "Well, such and such." "Oh no, no, he ain't gonna see you for that." I mean, she would just like gatekeep the doctor, and I'd be like, "Does he want my money or not? I need to come get I didn't know that, I was just constipated, but like I thought, I had, I don't know what I thought I had wrong, but I was
Right?
making all the doctor's
No.
appointments, and she's like, no, you just need to blow. And I'm like, let me see my doctor, man. Like, you don't get
Oh
to
my
just
God.
decide. But then I found out it's because he's a pushover. So he had her to be his bulldog because he couldn't say no. And I'm
I
like, ew.
mean,
It makes me appreciate her more because like as a and that I mean she just triggered me because I was not a person who could like stand in my own authority. And so
mm-hmm.
but she was a bitch. I'm not gonna play about it. She was. But like now I probably could handle it so much better. But I think that like really started my I don't make phone calls thing. I will sit
Right.
and worry and worry. I'm getting better about being like just do it. And so I'll
Right.
just knock through it and then I'm okay. But it'll weigh me down for a little bit.
I think too, with like us being unable to like actually be able to take the time to do things that aren't like on the to-do list for like us is, you know, probably from childhood. I mean, I don't know what your childhood was like, but God forbid my parents ever caught us sitting on the couch if there was shit to do.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So now I have this, like,
Well,
inherent,
that
like,
was a very
deep-seated
boomer
guilt.
ass thing.
Ugh.
Yes, yeah. Like I have a friend who I'm friends with both of them. They're sisters. They were swimmers when they were young. And so,
Mhm.
like, they have those morning practices, meets, all that. They would
Mhm.
come home from a swim meet and if their mom saw them sitting on the couch, and I mean, they've been up since 5 a.m. They're,
Yeah.
doing all the things. She would be like, "You are lazy," and flip out.
That!
Yeah,
Oh
we
my
were
god,
all
yeah.
given that same exact treatment. And this is why generational trauma is a thing, because when a parent sees a child relaxing and it triggers them because they weren't allowed to relax.
Yep.
And they're in that conundrum of like, I want to be a different parent, but this brings up stuff in me that I'm uncomfortable with, and now I perpetuate the cycle. Yeah,
Yep.
that happened to so many of us. How old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, so you're like, are you technically a millennial?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the baby part of that, right? Because I'm an elder
Yeah.
millennial. I'm like the last 3 months
Perfect.
of Gen X and
Uh,
an elder millennial. But we were raised by people who were also raised by people who were psycho. The silent generation, I literally don't care. Come for me, they were psychos. And listen,
yeah.
I can understand that they went through even more than the boomers did, who went through even more than we did per se. But the type of trauma they passed down, pretty messed up. And so much of the
Yep.
things that we hate ourselves for was just us, like, literally being alive. They couldn't stand our
Mhm.
presence. Now I understand they were just completely dysregulated. They don't know how to show up for you because no one's ever shown up for them. They're perpetuating all those cycles and now passing them down to us. And we're like, I just want love. Like, can somebody hold me, please?
Well, and they thought they were doing a better job because they weren't beating us into
They
oblivion
weren't beating
like their
us.
parents. And
Exactly.
I'm like,
Exactly.
"No, but you literally have I literally have a whole mental disorder from this bullshit." So I don't
Yes.
know if it was
Dude, the
better.
psychological torture though, like
Ugh.
the stuff they did was pretty messed up. And this is why I tell clients a lot, like, I'm not asking you to hate your parents if that's not where you are and you're like, my parents did a great job. I can sit with you in that, but there's space for two perspectives here, which is
Mhm.
they did the best they could and they did not meet your
And it
emotional
sucked.
needs. Yeah, they were not there to help you walk through very pivotal emotional developmental milestones. We were
Mhm.
left to figure it out on our own with our little baby filter. So, like, what are we going to do? We're going to be like, okay, everybody hates me. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. The whole world is my fault. Okay. Got it. I remember sitting there. I was primarily raised by my grandma. My
Mm.
parents were addicts and they were present in our lives. Probably shouldn't have been, but they were kind of in and out, doing their thing. And they'd be like, let me be a mom for a day. And then both of them died before, like, neither of them made it to 40.
Mm.
So my grandma she was a narcissist. She really was. And she just, now I can understand that she really lived in fear. Everything. Now, I had so many narcissistic traits before healing, so I kind of get it now. Like, I
Absolutely.
know that I used to lean into my fear and my shame, and now I know that's what she was doing too. But she it, rub some dirt on it, walk it off. Children are to be seen and not heard. You're a direct reflection and extension of me. You better not ever make me look bad. Those were the priorities of that generation. That's it.
Yep.
Oh, and like how we had to be respectful to any adult, no matter what.
No back talk, and it's like, I'm literally just,
No
like,
matter what.
getting clarification. I'm
Oh my
like,
gosh,
"Excuse
I
me?"
had to work through that though. I don't know if this is something that you have had to work through, but like I did a short stint in trying to be a teacher. That was cute and it didn't work. But
Mm.
I remember feeling triggered and being like, this is what they were talking about. Because I had told my oldest son when he was in middle school, I was like, my friend said that when her son just like asks a question or whatever in response to a teacher, they consider that talking back. Mouth from the South over here. I was like, let's
Mhm.
try to just be like, okay, sorry, or whatever. Well, then I was in that position and a kid would be like, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, oh, I can't believe you would talk back to me. And it took a really long time to unravel, but I finally heard myself being like, because if I did that, this
Yep.
is what I would receive. And so many, especially in education, so many people are perpetuating these things just because it's how we've always done it.
Yep.
We can't do it like that anymore, yo. We are ruining people.
Yep. It's definitely weird when you're, like, raising kids, like, obviously, I don't have any kids of my own, but, like, helping to raise my nephew and stuff. There's certain things that, like, he does now that my sister and I look at each other and we're like, "Dude, we would have gotten our asses beat for that one." And
I can't tell you how
we're
many
just like,
times,
"We're
like, I
doing
would say
good."
that. I would say that to my own children. I'd be like, "Bruh, if I did that, my ass would have gotten beaten,"
Uh,
and they'd
we
just be
had to
like,
kind
"Well,
of, like,
thanks for not beating
stop
me."
we kind of had to stop doing that just because, like, he actually went to my dad one time and he was like, "Papa, why were you mean to mom and Edie?" And I was like, "Oh shit." And he
Did you
thankfully
beat them? Because they said you beat them.
like thankfully like the physical whatever wasn't like the big thing in the house, but like I always like joke now that like we just kind of I hosted Fight Club with my dad every now and then. So but like
Yeah.
and thankfully he has like healed and grown as a person, which actually makes it more confusing as an adult because the man I know now is not the man I knew then. So when I'm trying to explain like where I came from, people are like, that one. I'm like, I know, I'm just as confused as you are, if not more. Okay.
No, people say this to my oldest son. Like this is something we've discussed a lot because he's like, it feels weird because you're not the mom that raised me,
Mm-hmm.
hypercritical, blah blah blah, all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when I try to talk about my shit, my friends are like, "Your mom," and like and they minimalize and trivialize his experience, and I'm like, "No, no, no, you have every right to own all of that. I wasn't who you needed. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
doing my best, yes, but I wasn't who you needed, and I
Right.
was hypercritical, and I had unrealistic expectations for you. I did act like a psycho a lot of times. We were just watching. My daughter is so nostalgic, and she was watching old videos of her opening Christmas presents last night. Literally just last night. I can't tell you how many times I heard myself. I'm so embarrassed to tell you this on the video, being like, "Will you please put the trash in the trash bag?"
Are you and my dad related?
And I'd be like, "Jake, oh my god, it was me, girl. It was me. I'm the problem." And I was so like embarrassed and ashamed and whatever. And I was like, "Oh my god, I don't even want to listen," because they started calling it out like loudly. My daughter's like, "Oh, you just asked us to throw trash away again," like over and over. Her and my husband were doing
Oh my
that, and I was like,
god.
"You guys, please." And
Hey,
he was like, "It's okay, honey. You've grown. You're not that
yeah,
person
that's the
anymore."
thing. Like my dad and I have had those conversations when he's like, I thought that my job was to provide, and I took you guys on nice vacations, and I made sure you had everything like you needed, and I thought that's where my obligations ended. He's like,
And I didn't
I
beat
did not
you.
realize. Yeah, he's like, and I didn't beat you to a pulp. He's like, I did not realize that there were so many emotional needs that I was just completely missing the mark on.
Hmm.
And I mean, we've had so many conversations about it, and there's, obviously I forgive the hell out of him. Like
Yeah, yeah.
he's my dad. There are certain like relationships that I understand that you have with your parents. Cause like if somebody had told me at 21 that like my dad would be one of my best friends, I'd be like, okay. I'm pretty sure I had a restraining order on him when I was 21.
Wow.
So like, there's just what? But it also comes with two parties being willing to make the changes. So I'm not
Absolutely.
saying like just because you're not speaking to your dad now doesn't mean you're going to speak to your dad in 10 years. No, because let me tell you, if that man had not done a lot of change and a lot of evolving, and better
Yes.
yet, a lot of being willing to hear when things would come back up that was triggering like me or my
Yes.
sister, and also being open to constructive feedback when he's starting to fall back. And we're like, no, no.
Yeah.
If he
Yeah.
wasn't willing to like do that, we still wouldn't have a relationship.
Absolutely. And I think that's why it's confusing for my son too,
Yeah.
is because like it's been this way for a while where like well cuz really I started to see the light in terms of expectations and stuff by the time he was in middle school. But
Mhm.
those formative years, I mean, I was not nice. I mean, sure I had moments of niceness, but I really wasn't. And I think it helps me now because my youngest is only like she's almost 11, and she will say things now like, "You were mean to me at such and such," and instead of getting defensive, like I'm like, "I know, and I'm really sorry," because I mean she has gotten the absolute worst version of me because I went through a really bad mental health crisis,
Mhm.
and I didn't have anything to give to anyone. So like the
Right.
kids were just, again, the expectations. Like I just wanted to
Mhm.
run away because I'm like, I can't, I'm not enough. What are you talking about? I can't meet your needs.
Yep.
But like I feel like the commitment to sit in the discomfort of your child telling you how you hurt them, that's the one way I'm for sure doing it differently.
For sure. But, like, on the flip side, like, I feel bad bringing it up because 'cause I'm like, I'm 33, like, I can no longer use, like, that as, like, a crutch for, like, why I am the way that I am, and I'm not. I'm just like, "Hey, I realize that this is why this," and, like, I'm just letting you know, like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm sorry." I'm like, "I don't need you to apologize. Like, I know you are sorry for that. I know, like, you're trying to do it differently. Like, you're, and blah, blah, blah. But, like, this is just something that I noticed and I'm just getting it off my chest so that I don't wind up sitting there and, like, stewing in it."
Yes, exactly. There are times when I have to just say it out loud. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, but I think that's fine. And I think there's a difference between not taking accountability for your responses when something's coming up and just sharing with someone what came up. I mean, that was my biggest learning, was just because I'm constantly feeling betrayed by everyone all the time doesn't mean they're actually betraying me. That's just what's coming up. And I
Yeah.
think that's what made healing so hard for me, is because I wanted to apply logic to stuff. If it didn't make sense to me why I was feeling it, like
Mhm.
betrayal over the dumbest stuff, like you listen to their opinion and not mine. And I'd be like, "You sound like an idiot. Why do you care? Like, why blah, blah?" And I would be like, "This feels like betrayal, but I know it's not. So what is the deal?" So what I would do is go ahead and dismiss that and just rage. I was really comfortable just being a bitch, like, oh,
Mhm.
passive aggressive, just saying shitty stuff for the sake of saying it, nonstop, nonstop.
Yep. That was me at the back half of my marriage, and it was not pretty.
Mm,
Instead of just sitting down and being like, "I don't think we're meeting each other's needs," I was, like, trying so hard to mold him into the person that I wanted him to be and what I needed him to be,
yeah.
and that motherfucker's stubborn. It was not happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, we've had several conversations since where I'm like, "I was an asshole. You didn't deserve any of that. It didn't matter how justified I felt. Like, you didn't deserve an iota of
I've
that
had to do
shit."
that too. Yeah.
And it sucks because 'cause you're, like, sitting there like, "I realize that, like, you heavily contributed to this, but also I heavily contributed to this, and I can't
Yeah.
completely blame you even though I'm trying real hard to, but, like,
I used
can't."
to. I used to fully blame my ex-husband, like fully,
Oh, same.
and be like,
Same.
if you weren't such a, and I meant that shit. Like I really felt
Yeah.
like I was so good and blah blah blah. I can't tell you. Probably at least once a year since the divorce, which was like 17 years ago. I'll be like,
Yeah.
man, I was just thinking about that time I was just real bitchy about blah blah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I literally was sitting there like, if you cared about me more as a wife, like you would have, or as a husband, or you know what I mean? But like, if you had
Yeah,
cared more and you'd given a shit about me, like you would have put more effort into our marriage. And now that I'm looking back, now that we're divorced, and I'm just kind of looking at him, I'm like, I wouldn't have done shit either. Like, I was an
yeah,
asshole. Like,
yep.
yes, the things he was or was not doing was definitely contributing to my burnout and my resentment, but I'm also very responsible for my reactions, and my reactions were less than stellar.
Whew,
I just
mine were
turned into
far
a
less than
ticking time
stellar.
bomb.
Yeah.
And yeah, I learned a lot, and there's a lot that I can't take back. And thankfully, he is such a forgiving individual, even though he drives me nuts every other day. But
Yeah.
he's so forgiving, and like we've been able to really work through some shit. And it's not the kind of work through some shit where we can actually like try again because we realize we are not
Yeah.
compatible. We are not compatible whatsoever. He is one of my best friends. I will go to war for that man. I will, smile in my mugshot if I have to. But as a partner, it is just oil and water with
Yeah.
probably some gunpowder sprinkled in there just to make it boom. Like
Yeah.
it's not good. And I
So
realized that when we
you're like
split
a
up.
baking soda and vinegar causing an explosion.
Yeah. Yeah. And I realized that when we split up, and I was like, wow, literally nothing has changed in our marriage except for we sleep in different rooms and we get along so much better because that expectation of being a couple is no longer there. And I
Yes.
was like,
Yes.
well, shit. And it also gave him the freedom to like be himself more. And part of me was like a little resentful of that because I'm like,
Mm.
oh, you're suddenly doing what I need you to do. But it's also like, I'm not breathing down his neck every 10 seconds. So it's like, okay, well, chalk that up to a really expensive learning experience. But, you know, he was the chapter I needed. He was the chapter I needed to sit and be at least safe enough and not have chaos to do a lot of healing. And I am the person I am because I married him. But also, like, I realize a lot of my own issues that I will not be bringing into the next relationship because I didn't bring it into the
Yeah.
last relationship because I'm like, okay, well, you know, XYZ. I remember my ex and I got pulled over and I was like, yeah, you were totally speeding. And he's like, why didn't you tell me I was speeding? I was like, because you have eyeballs and you're an adult and you can look at your damn speedometer. Like, I ain't your mother. And he was like, okay, that's fair. I'm like, yeah. Because I did that with my ex all the time. Like, do we have speeding ticket money? Why are you speeding? Like, and it was just like that. And because I just, oh God, I just want
Just
to
trying to
throw up
control
when I think about how I
everything.
was as a wife. Like,
Yeah.
please just throw a brick at my head.
I mean, I'm probably still not very good, but I'm better. I'm better.
You're better. That's what counts.
I mean, truly, he's like the last person that I still just take every fucking thing out on. Like, if I'm having a
It's
bad
hard.
day, he gonna be the target. He gonna be the target. Because, like, I can't cuss out my kid. I mean, I will, like, be like, oh, I do cuss out my kids sometimes, but, like, I'm not trying to be like really mean. They're used to me cussing, but like I'm not trying to like take it all out on them. So then there's just times he just walks in at the wrong time, and I'm like, "Bleh," and then I'm like, but I'm getting better at apologizing because I was never very good at it, and
Yeah.
I'm like, sorry,
I
sorry.
I would I would have to I learned to stop myself like mid rage and be like, this has nothing to do with you. I'm so sorry. But there's only so many times you can be like, I'm so sorry before they're gonna be like, sure.
Right. Well, thankfully, he's pretty avoidant and real disassociated, so he can just forget it happened like real quick, and he does,
That's
and
my
he
ex-husband and it
tells
drives
me
me
like,
nuts.
luckily I have no memory because like I do, I remember exactly
Ugh.
where we were when he said it because it's all about the things in words. I remember every word. That if
Mm-hmm.
you hurt me with your words, I'll never forget it or forgive you,
Mm-hmm.
really. I mean, I really won't. But like with him, I just am like, I'm getting really good at being like, that's none of my business. Like who he
Yeah.
is does not have shit to do with me. And I think the more that I just love myself and meet my own needs, the less I need any of that stuff from him. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're partners and we do the things, but like I need his support, and I get that. And outside of that, it's like cuz like he's my biggest fan and
Mm-hmm.
like he listens to every one of my episodes. That's huge
Aw.
for me. Like that's how you can show up for me. Like he does that and he talks about me in such a sweet way. Those things matter. I Sometimes the other stuff matters. You give me a good case of PMS and it's like, we're getting divorced tomorrow, bitch. I don't care what you say.
Oh my
But like
God.
most of the time it's
Literally.
just like, you are who you are, I am who I am. We gonna be who we are and just do our best.
Yep. Yep, that is a lesson I have learned the hard way, one divorce later. But we'll do better for the next sad soul that comes into my life. If I ever let anybody back in,
Your next
because that,
project.
oh my God, like instead, you remember Fear Factor, like back in the day.
Yes.
Yeah, instead of the coffin full of tarantulas, it's like, I need you to be vulnerable with somebody and like let them in. I will pick the goddamn tarantulas and the bees. Close the casket over that shit.
He's like, I've seen a lot of people go through this, and I have done this with like trying to make friends, but like somebody's nice to you and you're like, oh, is this love bombing? Like
Right.
every
Oh my
little
God.
step, you're like,
Literally.
oh, wait a second. What are you trying to get over on me? I'm kind of trying to lean into what's the worst that's going to happen if they're not the person
Yeah.
I think they are.
Like at
Who
the end of the
cares?
day, I joke about never being vulnerable, but I've learned that slow burn is actually a good thing. I all of my anxiety went all over the place with my ex because it was a slow burn. Like granted, he was never going to commit, but I learned the art of the slow burn and not like literally moving things at like a rapid pace. Like we just enjoyed
Yeah.
our time together and stuff like that. And I was literally panicking every other day because I'm like, what is going on? Does he actually like me? But he literally was the
Yes.
poster child for teaching me if he wanted to, he would. He was very intentional with his words, very intentional with his time. So when we broke up and I got none of that, my dumbass was like, well, he's capable of it. Like, I know he's capable of it. He's not using it. Hello, red flag, ding, ding, like, ding, ding, move on. Like, but when you're in it, you just, you know, it's fine.
Well, it's easy to lie to yourself, you
But
know?
that slow burn, I'm like, you know what? Any guy that is going to within 3 days be like, no, you're absolutely everything that I want. Like, goodbye.
Yes,
Goodbye.
run.
Because you
There's
have
your
said
red
that to a
flag.
girl last week.
Baby, and you know they did. You know they
You,
did.
you absolutely did. They probably said it
Every
to some girl
time
this morning.
they here's what's scary though. Some of these dudes are that crazy. Like they really do mean it in that moment when they say it because they're
Hmm.
so clouded by dopamine and adrenaline, and that's what they view as love. And also, I did that too. Like I truly
I
thought
have done
dopamine
that a
and adrenaline
million
was
times.
an oxytocin. I remember one time, kind of embarrassing. The second, oh God, I don't want to tell you this. The second I had an orgasm, I almost said I love you to somebody that I should not say that
No.
to. But it was like immediate. And I was like, that's oxytocin, bitch. You better shut that shit down. Like, don't do it. Don't do it. But
I mean,
that is, I mean, yes, it's the love chemical, but like, you better simmer down. It took me like a week to be like, no, that was
if it makes you feel any better, my ex-husband and I were like hooking up like directly after we separated, like a few weeks after. Like I think it was like 6 weeks after we separated, we like hooked up once. And I literally spit that out as soon as it was done. And I was like, what's wrong with you? It's because the oxytocin.
I mean, it is strong. It is strong, but I mean, like it would linger. You give a little bit of dopamine in that mixture, it's potent, and I'd be like, "What is love?" I mean, writing the list, doing the
Baby,
pro
don't hurt me.
cons.
But no, I literally once like I don't know, once my relationship ended, I'm like I am not getting with anybody until I am very sure that some bare minimum bullshit cannot literally send me over the edge like take me, I'm yours. Like I'm not doing that shit anymore. And I've done very well with it. Like I friends with people, like I'm like, we'll just see where it goes. If it stays friends, great. If it goes elsewhere, I don't care. Like let's just
Yeah,
what is meant for me will not miss me. So why the fuck am I trying so hard to make something
yeah,
that is probably likely not for me, at least right now, happen?
right,
Stop trying to
yeah.
make fetch happen. Like,
Well,
stop.
and I think if you, I kind of, this has been a new take for me is just to kind of clearly establish what my non-negotiables are and really
Yes.
understand why they are. And
Yeah.
if it feels like that's healthy and appropriate, I just kind of stick around that with people because,
Hmm.
I don't have any hard and fast rules the way I used to because I started to see like, interesting. I do all of the things that are in my non negotiable list. I do all that still. So, maybe
Yeah.
grace. Maybe like understand that somebody's initial reaction to you expressing your feelings is just them being defensive and human. And it doesn't mean that they're not going to sit with what you said and take it in and maybe even come back and have a better conversation later. Like, you got to give people
That's
the opportunity.
that's the thing. Like they have to be willing to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not willing to communicate and like everyone's going to say something stupid or do something stupid in like your relationship or when you're dating or talking to somebody.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's a deal breaker for people, and that's fine. That says nothing about you. Like,
Right.
take it, move on. I'm telling myself this just as much as I'm telling everyone else. Because I'm single as hell. I clearly do not have my shit together. But like the other thing too is if they're willing to come back and be like, hey, we need to have a conversation about this, you also need to be able to be like, okay, yeah, let's have the conversation. Let's tweak XYZ,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
kind of
check
thing.
your expectations because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like so often my expectation around conversations was listen to me tell you how you're failing me in every way, but don't
Yep.
don't tell me that. And then
Yeah.
like I'm how can I not expect somebody to be at least a little bit defensive and
Yeah.
allow it? Like, allow them to respond humanly, as long as, like, I'm learning to create the safety within, because that's my responsibility, is to create safety by like allowing them to give their truths and not
Mhm.
be a psycho that makes it unsafe for them to do that, and then me create the safety within, so that when they react poorly, I understand everything's fine, and
Mhm.
just let that sit, instead of so many times, I'd go like, the dumb, like, when you I feel, and if
Mhm.
that's where you're at in communication, that's fine, but it is an elementary level, and you got to level up and understand, like, just cuz you're feeling that doesn't mean that's what's real. It's real to you, and that's your perception, but that's what's creating that reality is your perception. They have a completely different reality than you do.
Yep.
So just trying to be really respectful and present in that, like, look, I want to be open to your reality too. Can you tell me about what that looks like? Oh my God, that has changed my life, because we do think very differently. Like, one day I was like, I
Yep.
was being real melodramatic, and he knows that I can't stand when he doesn't tell me something until last minute, because I generally will feel overwhelmed and blah, blah, blah. So he
Yep.
comes to me and he's like, "Oopsie, forgot to tell you about such and such," and I was like, "Oh dang, okay, what do you got? What's the schedule for it?" Oh, pissed me off real bad, and so I was like,
Mhm.
"Oh my God." So I start crying, and I'm like, at some point, like, you have to quit choosing me to be the one that you're willing to disappoint. And I meant that, and it was a fair statement. But when he
Right.
was looking at me like I was crazy, I was like, it was pissing me off so bad that I was like, "Can you tell me what you're thinking right now? I'm being so serious. I promise you, I will be chill. But, like, you are communicating to me as if I'm speaking a language, or like the way you're looking at me as if I'm speaking a language you don't understand. Tell me what you're hearing me say." So he says, and I'm like, "Dude, that's the way you're perceiving this, is that, like, you forgot and you just remembered, so you're just communicating it to me, and that's that." I'm like, "Okay, that's, you're leaving so much out of that." I'm like, "Okay, I
Right.
I, I get that." And I'm like, "Okay, let me re-explain now that I'm going to quit being melodramatic, because I'm hearing you say that, and it actually makes me feel so much better that you put such little thought into what your shit is, because I put way too much." And so I was like, "Okay, well, what I'm hearing is that you forgot, you remembered, and it's just tough titties for me. Now I just have to deal with the fact that you forgot and now you remembered.
Mhm.
Whereas I would like if what had actually happened was you forgot, then you remembered, then you came to me and said, 'Shit, I forgot.' And I know that that's going to really cause some stress for you.
Mhm.
Let's see what we can do so that we both don't feel like we're
That.
losing here. Like,
Exactly.
how can we work together to accomplish a common goal here, instead of you versus me? Because I thought one of us was just going to have to win and lose. And
Yep.
he just viewed it as, I mean, it's just a simple mix up, deal with it, And I'm like, "No, you're letting me down again." But
Yeah.
they think very differently than me. And I just had to realize I made myself a victim a lot when I wasn't. And
Yep.
he's not trying to do anything, just because that's what's coming up in me. And I'm feeling betrayed because I create all these weird ass expectations around literally everything.
Mhm.
I can say to him, like, "I'm feeling betrayed. Like, I don't, it's
Yeah.
embarrassing, but I don't know why I am, but like I am." And he can hear that now, because,
Yeah.
honestly, that's how my show has helped our relationship, because he listens to it and he can hear me talk about things like in a really non-emotional way, and hear that I mean it when I say I'm feeling betrayed, and I understand that doesn't have shit to do with you. This hit me in a wound, and it's gotten to a place where I now feel like I have to say it, because I've thought about it like more than 10 minutes. So I'm going to tell you, but I'm also taking responsibility for it. I'm not blaming you. I'm not even mad at you. I'm curious why it came up. And sometimes he can help me discover why. He's like, "Because, oh, really? What do you think happened, like, in childhood that made this surrounding, like things like that." How
Mhm.
beautiful, instead of like the giant ass fights we used to have. When I say giant ass fights, um, I'm going to take that
I'm
back, because
sure.
this man is quiet as hell. He don't fight.
Did we marry the same person? Because
Was
I
yours an
literally was like,
Aquarius?
"I'm gonna have a better fight with the wall." You don't I was like, "Say something." He's like, "I got nothing." I'm like, "Oh my god."
Yes. Staring through me.
Yeah,
The worst
1,000-yard
thing this
stare.
man has ever said. One time he did say, "You're acting like a bitch." One time in 16 years he said that.
Yep, I heard
And
that.
then maybe like 10 times he's been like, "You're really starting to piss me off." That's the worst you're ever going to get from him, cuz he's just like, grown-ups
Mhm.
don't fight. Grown-ups don't fight. That's his program. He's an avoidant. He's very conflict adverse. But
Yeah.
like, it's kind of nice because I mean he ain't gonna yell at me, you know. Because even though I'm a yeller, if he yelled at me, I'd be like, "I can't believe you would do that, abuser."
It was kind of hard, especially because he wouldn't, like, fight, so like, in the back of my head, all I knew growing up was conflict, so I was like, "I need the conflict." So I would just needle, which not
I felt
healthy.
like he didn't
The n
love me
the
because he
yeah,
wouldn't
the
fight.
I didn't think he cared. I didn't think he gave a shit at
Yeah.
all, and you're, like,
Oh
explaining this
yeah.
whole thing of, like, and I think what came up for you would probably be the same thing that came up for me when my ex-husband would, like, forget things, is I wasn't allowed to forget anything, or I got fucking berated. Like, "How could you forget that? Write it down." So it's like, if I didn't get a pass, I didn't give other people a pass. And that was a
It's the
really
same
hard
as
pill.
everything else.
It was a
What you
really hard pill to
cannot accept
swallow.
in yourself, you cannot accept in others. And so, anytime someone is experiencing something that nobody showed up for us for, we
Mhm.
dismiss them because A, it happened to us, and B, we don't really know how to sit with people in their discomfort. So, and that's like, I see that a lot with teachers not having compassion for a child's experience because nobody gave them compassion when they were going through
Yeah.
that. And I'm like, I have done this too, so I get it. But
Mhm.
at what point do we stop the cycle? And so,
Yep.
yeah, there's been so many times that I'm like, oh, I'm judging that in me. But see,
Yeah.
like, that's why I held everybody else to such perfectionist standards because I held myself to that standard. And even though I wasn't meeting the mark, baby, I was talking that much shit to myself too. I
Yeah.
mean, nonstop criticism of myself. So, like, you gonna get what you're supposed to get when you mess up. Hello. And then
Mhm.
also, when he would forget, it would open up that betrayal wound really big because I was
Mhm.
really used to having parents who never followed through with what they said. So
Ooh, yeah.
every time I would build an expectation around an agreement, to me it wasn't just you said you'd do this. It's there was a lot of symbolism there for me and it was like a promise and promises to me were a contract and you
Yeah.
signed that in your blood and I signed it in mine. So the second you don't meet your end of the bargain, betrayal ultimate, and that betrayal wound was so big. My neglect wound is really big too, so like if things happen and I feel like I don't have people around to help me with it, it will open because it really makes me like hear that narrative over and over of like I have the weight of the world on my
Mhm.
shoulders and nobody else to help me carry it. And I feel like that's the narrative, like it's one of the ones that we all carry.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of time to like unravel that and hear it instead of just like existing in autopilot and it happening without realizing it. And once I've been able to like acknowledge what my wounding is and what the core beliefs around those are, now I can see it in others too. But it really did help me be like, huh, I'm all the things. I'm all
Right.
the things I'm bitching about in everybody else. That's interesting. I
Yeah,
might be the
they call that
problem.
projecting. I'm also guilty of it.
Yes.
The biggest lesson I have learned, especially in my 30s and just, like, being in the marriage that I was and then learning from that, is in order to have expect somebody to be a safe person for you, you also have to be the safe person for them, and it's really
Yeah.
fucking hard when you are undoing a
It's
lot of
so
shit.
hard.
I
Yes.
healed and unpacked so much shit, and unfortunately, my ex-husband was the brunt of that. I'm a
Well,
better
and
person
and
because of
I
it,
bet you pushed
but
everyone away
yikes.
that could have helped you feel safe because safety felt unsafe.
I just surrounded myself with people that I knew would basically let me down so that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have to. But once I had to
Yeah.
start facing my shit and
Yep.
actually owning it was not fun. It still isn't fun. Okay? Like,
It's
there's
not
nothing
fun and
fun
it's
about
still not
admitting
easy.
any
Yeah,
of
it's
this.
still, it doesn't, the only thing that gets easier for me is accessing the tools. Like it
Mhm.
still comes up, it still will knock me down sometimes, and then I'll be like, but I got a tool for that, so I'm gonna grab it and I'm gonna use it. And
Mhm.
that's why I tell clients a lot is like, you're gonna have to use that toolbox forever. That's why we spent a really long time building it, because it's
Mhm.
got to be sturdy and it's got to be grounded, and you got to be able to open that bitch up whenever you need to pull something out of there. And I had to remind myself that too. Like, there are still times where I impose this judgment from like, you knew better, da, 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 da. And I'm like, well, a version of me knew better. The version of me experiencing that moment didn't. And so we're going to chill
Right.
out and understand that I am allowed to be human at all times.
Yep. I think we need to start giving ourselves more grace, because there are plenty of people out there that give themselves a little too much grace. So, like, if they can, we can.
Yeah, and I think that's why we get so freaked out about giving ourselves that compassion and understanding, is
Mhm.
because it feels like a lack of accountability. A
Yeah.
lack of accountability means you never change. But
Mhm.
shaming yourself and guilting yourself to death, does it help you change? No, it didn't help me. It just made me want to die. So,
Literally.
like, I lean into that a lot. Like, you're allowed to forgive yourself for making mistakes and not like hold
Mhm.
yourself to this cross the rest of your life. Like, forgive yourself and move on, regardless
Mhm.
of whether other people forgive me. I'm gonna keep going. I forgive me, and I know that I hold myself accountable because I do change the behavior
Yep.
eventually. I mean, I wish to God I could integrate learning as soon as I learn it and never repeat that mistake again, but that's
Yeah.
never going to happen.
Yep. Pretty much.
But I
It's
also
like building
realized I
muscle
used to
memory at
hold
the moment.
other people to that standard too. Like, you said you were never going to do that again.
Yeah.
Betrayal. Betrayal.
It's so fun. But just to kind of wrap, where is the podcast streaming?
Um, it's on all the things. It's on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. The audio is always uploading directly to YouTube, but I've started actually uploading the video. But
Oh yeah.
uploading video is very time consuming, so I'm about
Mhm.
8 episodes behind on that. But yeah, I mean, just wherever you like to listen to podcasts, my podcast is there.
Well, Melissa, thank you so much for hopping on. This has been so enlightening. This has been one of my favorites. This has been
I had
great.
a really good time. I'm trying to be friends, Heather. Trying to be
I mean,
friends.
I do have a couple openings.
If you have an opening,
Okay.
I'll take a spot. I'll take a spot.
Perfect.
Hey, this is real life.